Hello everyone, Tom Morley here from FOSS 365 and welcome to Spaceball, the tutorial. So at this point we need to separate the 3D objects into smaller pieces and make sure that the point of rotation for each object is in the correct position. If we don't do this when we import them into Godot and turn them into game assets, the placement will be all out of whack. So we're going to go into object mode and we're going to start with this object right here. And if I click on rotate on the x-axis, you see that I'm rotating based on this little dot down here. Now that little dot really needs to be right up here in the center. Now we can get the cursor to go to the center, remember, by hitting the Shift and C, and that will center our cursor and also center our view around everything that's in the scene. Now when I rotate, of course it's not going to rotate around the center because I centered based on everything that's in the scene. If I want to rotate around that little center right there, again I have to hit Alt and Home, and now I'm rotating around that center. And that little dot right there, that's where my rotation for this, for the floor object, should be. That needs to be up here, but the floor object should be below here. Let's go into edit mode. Let's make sure we've got all of our faces selected. And now let's press G and Z, and we're gonna move this down. And if I move it down just one in the Z axis, you can see that that dot's still in the center. So I'm still not where I want it to be. I want that dot to be on the top here, right? So I need to get that dot to the top in edit mode. So I'm going to press the G and the Z, and I'm going to hold the Shift this time. Hold the Shift key and go down until that dot is right on the top of my floor and in the center. And it does look like that's the case now. Now I go into object mode and I press G and Z and I move it up to be right at the center location of my scene. So now if I go into object mode and I press rotate, now I'm rotating around. And if I press X, I'm rotating around the center. Or if I press Z, then I'm rotating around the center. And this is important for when I place and rotate my objects in Godot. I want to make sure that that dot is completely in the center for my floor, and my floor is underneath. Okay, so that object is complete. So we're going to press G and X, and we're going to move that, just move it out of the way. We'll move it on the other side of the block for now. Let's start cutting up the floor and the ramp locations over here. For now, let's just get this fence out of the way. We'll press G and X and we'll move that up. Let's kind of take a look at this side over here. So what we need to do is we need to chop this all up into smaller pieces, right? Because we want this ramp to be one little piece that we can put anywhere in our scene. So to do that, we're going to make sure it's selected. We're going to rotate around. And then we're going to go into wireframe mode. We're going to go into edit mode. We want faces selected. We're going to make sure nothing is selected. Okay, with nothing selected, we're going to let's press the 5 key and then I think it's the 3 key. Yeah, there we go. So we press the 5 key to put it into orthographic mode, and then 3 to go to the right orthographic mode. So now we can start chopping this up. Okay, so now I'll press B to box select, and I'm going to box select all of those. Now that it's selected, I'm going to press P and I'm going to separate it by selection. Now that one's gone. I'm going to do the same thing. Box select, select all these, press P, separate it by selection, boom, that one's gone. And I'm just going to keep on doing that. Box select, P. That one's gone. And now these pieces here, I don't want to separate anything. Those all should be connected. I don't want to separate those at all. And let's hold the shift key and move over here. Press 3. And do I want to separate those? No, I don't have to separate those either. Alright, I'm going to go back into material mode and take a look at what I've got here. Now I do want to close this end up, and so let's go ahead and do that now. Go to Edge Select, make sure I don't have anything selected, Shift Alt, and I should be able to select that whole thing at once, and it did. And then I'm going to press F to create a polygon here, or a face, but you see it doesn't have any stripes. So what I need to do with that selected is go to the material, and ramp side is selected. Now all I have to do is click Assign, and you see it is assigned. It does seem like something is messed up there. So what we're going to do, it's because it isn't UV unwrapped correctly. So let's select face mode. Only select this side here, press U in cube projection, unwrap it. See how it just fixed it? So there, yep. And now all the way around it, it's fine. Now we separated these pieces over here. Let's kind of just move them out of the way. Let's grab that piece right there, and let's G in X mode, and let's move that up. And same thing here, G in X mode, and let's move that up a little bit, get that out of the way. So all three of these sections are closed here. So I'm going to use that trick again. I'm in object mode. I'm going to hit Alt F so that I can rotate around this object. And I'm going to close this end too. So I'm going to go into edit mode with Tab. I'm going to go to edge mode, Shift Alt. Am I in edit mode? Yes. Okay, must be I didn't go back to object mode. I didn't have it selected, so now that's selected. Go into edit mode. There we go. Now I got it. Now I'm going to press F. You can see it's all messed up. I am going to assign the ramp side. It's still messed up, and it's messed up because I haven't unwrapped it. I'm going to press U to cube projection unwrap it, and bam. All four of those are done. Okay, so I might want to close this one out too, just because I may use this as a ramp to jump off from. So I want to close this end too. I'm going to do that. I'm going to select that as an object. Again, I'm going to Alt F in object mode to get some centered on that. Tab to go into edit mode. I have got edge select. Shift Alt F to create the polygon. Ramp side assign. UV unwrap, cube projection. There you go. So now that one's done. And who knows, I may also have the smaller ramp, maybe just a small little bump every now and then somewhere. So let's go ahead and close that out too. We never know, we might use it. Object mode, select it. Alt F so that I can rotate around it. Tab to edit mode, Shift Alt, select that whole loop. F to create it, assign it to ramp side. UV unwrap it, cube projection, bam. Might as well close this one in too. So object mode, Alt F to center it in my view. Select it, edit mode, Shift Alt, make it a face, assign it, and unwrap it, cube projection. Same thing over here. Hit A to deselect that side over there. Shift Alt, select it, F to create it, assign it, and UV unwrap. Cube projection. There you go. I love cube projection. It's such a cheat. So fun though. Okay, well, I think that cleaned them all up. I think we're all set. Oh, we need to close it in the floor too, so let's do that. I'm in edit mode. I'm going to switch to object mode, Alt F to center on my floor. Go into edit mode. Oh, I didn't select it. Got to select it, then go into edit mode. A to deselect everything. Shift Alt F. Assign the ramp side. And I'm going to unwrap it anyways because it was close, but I want to make sure that there isn't any problems later. A to deselect all the polygons. Shift Alt to select this side. F to create it. Assign it to ramp side. U to cube projection, unwrap it. So yeah, that's all done too. Alright, so everything's cleaned up. Looks like all my ends are closed. So they're all in separate pieces, and let's continue on making sure that the rotation location for everything is correct. We know that basically the only thing that we've done so far is the actual floor. So that's all set. Let's go next with the ramp here. Let's go into object mode and see where the pivot point is. It looks like the pivot point is right there in the center. So let's press number 3 to go in side mode, shift and middle mouse button to move it up a little. Let's press G and Z. Well, actually, we are not in edit mode yet. So let's exit out of there. Let's tab into edit mode. Let's make sure all of our faces are selected, G and Y. Let's move it over. Why is it not snapping? Should be snapping. G, Y. There we go. I must have been holding down the shift key. G, Y, move it over to. And then G, Z, and move it up to. Oh, it wants to go 2, but we need it actually down 1. So G, Z, and hold shift. Make sure that it gets right on the center. We can do that by pressing number 3, go into the right ortho mode, and making sure that it's right on that dot. So now let's go back into object mode, center around it so that I can see a little bit better where that little dot is. Yep, now the origin is correct. We can verify that by being in object mode and rotating it on the Z-axis, and it should rotate with basically on the center, and it does. So we're good. Right click to go back to normal mode. A little confused why. Okay, that's still not centered right because this edge right here needs to be right on that edge. So let's go back to 3. Not 3, let's try 7 on top. There we go. Let's go G and move it in the Y direction, holding the shift key. And that really needs to be, oh, I'm not holding the shift key. It needs to be right there. You got to make sure that it's squared out 2 units by 2 units. Now my origin is over too far. Oh, it's because I'm in object mode. So I've got to do it, and got to get that in the center first. by going into object mode, making sure all my faces are selected, then G, Y, and then hold the shift key and move it over one. G, Y, hold the shift key. This is the tedious process basically. Now we need to go into object mode and GY it there. Now if I go to 7, yep, see my origin is in the center. Everything's 2 units by 2 units. It's lined right up with the bottom. So if I rotate this on the X, yep, on the Y, yep, it's rotating the right area. And if I rotate it in the Z, yep, we're good to go. Right click to reset it. That one's good to go. Now you just need to do that with every single object. And I'm in object mode. I'm just going to move this over 2 and then G, X up 2 just to move it out of the way. Now the same thing goes for every single object you have there. You just got to make sure the origin is correct. So next one I'll do is this one here, which is level 1 floor. I will go into 7, just top ortho, G, X, then GY. Actually, you see that little origin point right there? I'm going to right click and put it right where it's supposed to be. So now I just need to move this to the origin point, but I need to do it not in object mode, but edit mode, so that when you are trying to align your origin rotation point, you need to do that in edit mode. So go into edit mode, make sure all of my faces are selected. I'm going to press 7 to go into the top mode, and then G and Y. I'm going to go to right there, but you'll see that it's actually not in the right location. It's down too low, so now I need to do 3 to go into that side mode, then G and Z, and bring it up to right there. Alright, now that's right in the center on the bottom. I should be good to go with that one. Let's check it by going into object mode and rotating it on the Z axis. Looks right. On the Y. Yep. And the X. Yep. Right click to reset it. That one is good to go. GX. GY. I'm just moving them out of the way. So those are all done. Let's do this one next. Let's go into top view. Oh, right click, reset it. Let's go into top view. GY. Now let's GX. So I just want to bring it over because chances are, yeah, there's my origin going right towards the center. Bring it over, puts it in the center, and then I go into edit mode, select them all. I'm going to go back into top mode, G and Y, put that over there, and I just got to move it up, G and Z. Let's check it out on 3. I have to go up more, G and Z. There we go. The origin point is where it should be. Let's go into object mode and test it. Rotate it on the Z. Press the Z key. Yeah. The Y key. Yeah. And the X. Looks good. That one's done. Let's move that. Let's grab this big boy here. See, the origin's already where it should be, so all I need to do is go into ortho top with the 7 key. And if you're not in ortho, press the 5 key. That changes from perspective to ortho. Go into edit mode, select all. Ooh, I didn't realize that both of those are still one object, but that's okay. We will go into wireframe mode. We will go into face mode. We will box select this, corner turn, and then we'll press P and we'll separate that. We'll get rid of that. There we go. Now, if I press A for all of the polygons, or all the faces, it just grabs that. So now I can press G and Y and bring that to the center. Again, it's probably too low, which it is. I'm going to go back into material mode. Press 3, and I need to move it up, G, Z, and it is in the center. Check it out by going to object mode and rotating along the Z axis. Thought I separated that. Oh, I did. They both were selected for some reason. So G and Y, and just move that out of the way. G, actually R for rotate, Z. Yep, there we go. And rotate it in the X, yep, and the Y. Yes, that's all set. Let's G, move that in the Y direction this way. GY, or X, move it up, out of the way. Next one is this one. Select it. The origin point is right there, so let's go to 7. And let's move it down in object mode first. GY, move it down in object mode, because when in object mode, the origin moves with it. So the origin is at the center now. Now I'm going to go into edit mode, select all the faces, and I'm going to G, move it in the Y direction, and I want it to rotate right where that dot is, right there. So it's in the center of this square here. And of course it's not where it needs to be, so press 3 and G and Z to move it up and drop it right on. So there, the origin is now at the center of this square, and that's where we need it in order to rotate this. Am I in edit mode? Right click, yeah, I'm in edit mode. Object mode, rotate it. You see, rotate that now on the center of the corner. So that's perfect. Rotate it on X, yep, and Y. Looks good. So that piece is done. Let's, in object mode, move that over. That's done. Now the rest of it is probably, we can also do this box without too much trouble. Let's press 7. Let's move that in object mode. It looks like the origin is right in the center already, so just move that box right into the center in object mode. But I would say the origin is in the middle of this box. It really needs to be on the bottom of the box. So press 3, go into edit mode, press A until everything is selected, G and Z, move it up so that it's right on the bottom there. So there, now the origin is, I'm going to go back into object mode, origin is right on the bottom of the box. You can check that by R, Z, rotating, yep, looks good. X, good. Y, good. So the box is done. See, now if we move the box over to the floor, the box should be on the floor if we did everything right. So in object mode, let's just move this by G and X and see if it sits on the floor. Yep, see? I'm gonna, in object mode, Alt F to center around that, but see if we did everything correctly, it's sitting on the floor. So yep, looks like we did at least that part right. So let's move that box by GY, move it over a little bit, because we'll want to do the same thing with the shift and move it over with the middle mouse button to get back to the center. Press 7, and I think we'll do the 55-gallon drum next, and that's in the center. So all we need to do in object mode is move it over with G, X, move it over to the center, press 3. Looks like we got to move it up. Oh, okay. But we want to move it up in edit mode, right? So right click and deselect that, go into edit mode, and make sure we got everything selected. G and Z, because we want the origin on the bottom, right? You don't move anything. If you want to move the origin, you got to do it in edit mode. And it looks like I have to hold the shift key on this one. This one might be tough because I've resized the can to a non-2 by 2 unit, so this one might be a little more difficult to align the origin correctly. So I'm zooming in a little bit more. G, hold the shift key down, and drop it right on there. There. Now, go back to object mode. I'm going to do Alt F so that I can center on that. And yeah, it looks like the origin is where it needs to be. We can check that by rotating. Z, yeah, that looks fine. Rotating on the X. Yep, we're good. Y. So that's done. That also should, if we press G and X, it also should set right on the G and X. Yep. Sets on the floor just fine. Now the last piece is the fence. So the fence I think I'm actually going to do with a little help from the floor. So we're going to grab the floor and bring it back over. Press 7. In object mode, we're going to move it over. Going to grab the fence, and you'll see the fence, it's got kind of a weird shift and middle mouse button kind of move things around. The origin for the fence is definitely strange, but what we need for the origin of the fence is to be in the center of this floor, the 2 by 2 square floor. So let's move the whole thing over with G and X. Then press 3 because it's obviously too low. G and Z, move it up. Oh, my floor is a little bit too high. Glad I saw that. Let's fix the floor first. The origin is not correct. So we got to do that in edit mode, right? Edit the floor, get all the all the faces. G and Z, hold shift. Go back to object mode. Alt F to center around that. Three looks fine. 7 looks fine. Yep. I don't know how I goofed that up, but it appears to be correct now. If we're in object mode, let's rotate in the X. Yep. And the Y. Yes. Okay. Now let's go back to the fence like we were supposed to be doing. Center this origin point first in object mode. G. Just move it over. Yeah. Now it's centered. Now I need to go into edit mode, select all my polygons. I'm going to go to set ortho top with the 7 key. G to move it. X. Shift key held down. G, Y. Shift key held down. Here. The origin is where it needs to be. If I press 3, yep. 7, yeah. So now, if I rotate the fence object, it should rotate around this floor area. So let's check it out. RZ. Oh, and I'm rotating in edit mode. You can't do that. Gotta go back to object mode. RZ. There you go. Yep. And it'll fit there. It'll fit there. And fit there. Let's Control Z to put it back where it's supposed to be. I want to see that rotation in top ortho. Make sure. Rotate Z. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And that's fine. Right click to reset it. Okay, so now basically we have created all of the objects we need for creating a 3D game in either Blender or Godot 3.0. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.